Hi, guys. Welcome to Yes and No podcast. We're back. This is my good friend Matt, and I'm your host, Arda. We're going to talk about today the sense of community that we feel like we are losing in society, and also the communities that we're losing, we feel like.
In our heart.
And we'll probably connect it to capitalism at the end, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I like how you already, stating
Giving away
where it's going.
But maybe it won't go there.
No, I don't think
we
so.
Don't
we don't have to go through that, But it's fine. Yes. Hi, I'm Matt. And do I have a sense of community?
I lost it, dude. Well, I think when I was little, I had more. Not today. How about you?
I hate people, so no, I don't have any sense of community. I don't rely on people.
Do you think it's important?
I mean, apparently, yes, from what I understand.
Or is the yes and no?
But at the same time, not really. Yeah, I mean, yes. Yeah, let's say yes. Because even though, as I say, I never been really part of a big community in terms of I needed that. I needed to be surrounded by. I actually found myself embedded in some communities at some point, and we talked about it on our other episodes for sure. But I think it's crucial to have a community in order to understand your own personality and your own self. I think people on the other side of that community, that is part of the community, should be a reflection of who you are. So I think it is definitely inherent to the human experience and who we are in general. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it also makes, at least I was feeling like when I was growing up, when I was in a group setting and I see that group as my community, I feel a lot more comfortable than outside of it. I really enjoyed being in a community. I don't know if it's also related with the culture that I grow up with. Mm-hmm. But one example is I played volleyball, and that the volleyball club, the sports club I was going, the people there that I was seeing often, they were kind of like a family. Most people in there were playing volleyball or had some kind of volleyball history. And I don't know, we had a lot of common things. And I always enjoyed to be there, not just because of the volleyball, but to be with a group of people that I can trust, that I can talk with, that supports me. And I think it was great. And I feel like even, religion, I believe people, for example, when they are at a church and they go there every Sunday, they probably feel in some sense the same way to talk with those people. Those are the people that they trust, who supports them. And I think that's an important aspect to have a community too. It's like an emotional quality to it, I feel like.
Yeah. But the thing is, I was hesitating to say yes or no, obviously, because community is also something that either people grow up into, meaning those are the social structure that they've been raised in. But it's also something that is personal that you can create on your own. And for myself, I did a lot of sports when I was a kid, but I was changing sports club and sports in general every year. So I never related or connected with other people being like, oh, yeah, I like those people. I want to be part of that group. I want to have this communion almost around, a sport or hobby in general with them. And I never expected that to be part of my life and either trying to look for it. But the reality is my community, it's you guys.
I was like, where is he going with
No, but it's definitely my close friend. And that's the thing. I know it's weird to say that because a lot of people are going to separate the community and the friendship that they have because they can connect with people on a certain level and then friends on another level. For me,
I can definitely
include people around me at the same state of mind. So I'm combining those two. And this is why, I don't have a shit tons of friends, but it still means in my personal structure, I have this community that is small, but it's enough for me to get my social interaction and intellectual dynamism, I would say.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree that the friend groups that we have, that's a community too. Yeah, you can say that it's our small community. And I totally agree. It's like it's one of the most important and valuable thing for myself too, I would say, to have those close friends around me. But I feel like lately I'm lacking the type of community that I was referring to as when I was younger and when I was playing volleyball. There was kind of like a common goal that group, agreed on, kind of.
Let's be the best.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, all of them loved volleyball, played volleyball, and wanted to make that sports club a successful sports club in some sense. But there was definitely a sense of community too. It wasn't like just like business or something, you know? Like people were getting together, seeing each other. Like we had different sports settings like ping pong areas, ping pong or like stuff like that, that you were kind of like hanging out and playing ping pong and talk. And we had a cafeteria there. But today, and maybe this started with social media too. I remember it promised this sense of community that you can create your own community online. And I believe some people are doing it. Like I know that there are some communities people created online and find traction and they're coming together. And I have been in some of those groups, but I don't know. I really feel like it's a different dynamic now, today's world. I don't know what you think.
I mean,
but you know what I mean? Like the type of community that I'm referring to. Like I know you're not super used to it.
I mean, I'm used to it in some sense. You know, I mentioned in previous episodes about my music career, and we talked with Dallas in terms of how musicians connect together in order to help each other, you know, and try to thrive together. Because if you support one band and then, you know, that band is breaking charts and then it's going on concert, you want to be part of that success too, and they can help you thrive at the same time. So
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, back then I was definitely part of that. But is it something that is... I mean, that's the thing. Is it something necessary? I don't know.
No, but do you think it was easier back then to have something like that? Or was it our age? Or was it the time?
Yeah, I think it was the age.
We're going to talk like this from now on.
Exactly. Back in those days. You know?
My hip.
I think it's a good question. I think it's a question of age for sure, to be honest. I think there's two things to take in consideration here. Is the age that we had back in those days, and also how social media interfered and changed the scales, basically, in terms of connecting with others. So yeah. I mentioned about my MySpace era times, and even the music underground society that I was living in Paris back then. And I'm thinking that I will not be part of it at my age. Like I was younger and you're discovering life and you're discovering stuff and you need experiences. And I think the community that I had was a good way to condense or, you know, creating barriers and boundaries around that experience too. And because there are so many things to live in life. And by being embedded in community, you can live some experience to the fullest, I would say. But today, I'm not saying that I live too much, but I think I live so many things in my life, different paths, that I will not react in the same way if I was still part of that community nowadays. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I mean, definitely age is relevant, but I also feel like it changed a lot today's world. I mean, if you go to like 70s and 80s, as you said, like there's like communities you're born into, right? And like my father's time, they were in a neighborhood. Everybody knew each other. It wasn't like a metropole and it was like not populated that much. Everybody kind of knew each other. You didn't have internet. You didn't have smartphones or anything like that. You just hang out with the people you know, and there are sometimes activities like theater or maybe, I don't know, reading, book clubs or whatever. But it was a little bit maybe more intellectual back then, that to sit down and talk about politics and economics. And I think it's not like that anymore, of course. It's just we have our own individual ambitions and things we want to do. And then we try to find like-minded people on internet or out there somewhere. And then it's kind of like trying to build a business. You try to build a community and it doesn't work, and then you move to the next one. Like we treat it as maybe like friendships, maybe relationships too. Like you try to find a like-minded relationship. If you don't, move to the next one. You meet with someone, you want to become friends, doesn't fit, move to the next one. So it's different, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this expectation of trying to find the one in some sense. Not in terms of love, but I think it's that same idea of trying to fit and having someone validating who we are and what we experience. Yeah. And we want that person to be, as I said at the beginning, a mirror of our existence in some way. And so because of social media, people are jumping back and forth from different places to different things. And that's one of the things that is actually great at the same time. Like if you take TikTok, for example, and we mentioned TikTok so many times. TikTok is a platform where there's a lot of content creators that found their community. Everybody's going to say that because they came up with their own personality, their own problems, own ideas, own art that they want to share. And by the magic of the algorithm, it connected to other people.
Which doesn't work for us sometimes.
Which definitely doesn't work for us.
Doesn't work for us.
But still, can connect other people that you never met anywhere else on the world that might feel the same feelings or having the same experience that you're going through. And then that's helping you, as I said, to validate what you're living. And then that validate those other people going through the same thing, and back and forth, vice versa, it still goes and grows like that. But as you said, it's still a shallow sense of community because you need to create a sense of, you need to be really specific into really something really specific. Otherwise, people jump from that place to another place, to another place, to another place. And then when I'm looking at my For You page
you kind of need to know yourself too, I feel like. You need to know what you want.
Yeah.
To like sometimes people looking for something because they think that's the right thing for themselves and probably influence from maybe people around them or popular culture or whatever, and then that's not what they really need. But yeah, it's hard.
It's hard to
find
the right community. But I'm going to tell you something. Through my journey of finding my inner peace, if I would say, through therapy and everything that I've been through for the past 4 years, there were some times where I need to really find myself. Like I'm going so deep into not a community, but in terms of my mind and my expectation, my experience, and I'm overthinking everything that sometimes I'm dissociating myself from who I am. And then I'm stumbling into something, a video, a sound, and that just puts me back to, okay, this is who I was, and that is part of me, and I want to leave that again. And most of the time, it just reminds me on places, people that I was hanging out with, the environment that I felt comfortable with for a while. And it is really important in that sense because it also structures your identity. But the problem is, and this is why I'm putting a note about, as I said at the beginning, I don't have a community and it's okay. The problem is I don't like that idea because a lot of people seclude themselves in that identity almost of the community. Not their own identity inside the community, but the community becomes their identity. And this can be really fast can lock you down into something that is not yourself and that is influences on other people that are bad.
Do you also find difficult to get into a community that you didn't build? Like it's an already built community and then you want to get yourself in it. Do you find it hard?
Yeah.
Like generally?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that also entitles certain things too. Like you're getting into an already built community and you're like, okay, this is interesting. Like let's say like this is a club about rock music or whatever.
BDSM, whatever.
BDSM, polyamory.
Yeah.
One Piece, anyway. But as much as everybody likes the rock music there, or everybody likes the BDSM or whatever, it's also hard to connect with those people in a personal level. Sometimes I feel like you go there, you have a conversation about these topics, but are those people are assholes? How are they communicating what they want to communicate? You know, are they like that? That sometimes can be difficult for people like you and me too. Like we're sometimes like question things, criticize things, not from a negative place, but to understand or maybe share what we think, what we want to share. And that's not always, you know, people don't like that sometimes. Doesn't work always. So I think that's an aspect to trying to get into a community too. It's a little bit hard.
I mean, the thing with community as we're defining it right now, it means also something. There are rules.
Yeah, some communities has
the
rules,
community.
100%.
I mean, they always rules. Like, not maybe some of them is going to be written in it. You know, like religion for sure.
Community.
Like the rules or cult or something like that. But there's definitely some unspoken rules when you're joining a community. Like, let's say you're talking about people that are a fan of One Piece, for example, right?
Yeah,
the manga. I know some stuff about One Piece personally. Maybe I'm not as knowledgeable as you are, but I can know some stuff. And let's say I'm really intrigued and I'm finding this club where they're talking about it and all that things, right? I will go in there and I will feel as an outsider in some sense because the way they are already built as a community means that they are expecting each other to behave in a certain way, to think, or there's like those steps that you need to do in order to be part of that group. And by being an outsider that don't have all the rules or don't know everything, I will definitely be, you know, on the side, and then I'll need to understand what are those rules in order to be part of that community.
You would question the rules too?
I mean, personally, like, of course, you know me. I will question the middle
of the meeting.
Yeah, of course I will. Definitely.
I mean, that's one of the hard things. Also, as you said, like there are certain requirements comes with it that's expected from you. But it can be hard for some people. And aside of that, I think it's sometimes hard to initiate yourself, push yourself to go out there, find a community that might be interesting for you and adapt to that community's requirements or expectations. Like it's like so many steps, right, that you need to work on. It's maybe people don't do it that much because of that. So there's an app that I came across on my Instagram feed. It's called 222 Places. And I was curious about it. It was about a social experience that they provide, I guess. And do you remember the movie The Game? It felt like that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's this thing that we planned for you and you're not going to know much about it. So I'm like, all right. I downloaded the app, created an account, and it just asks you a bunch of questions to kind of get to know you. And the whole point of the app is it creates an event for you with people you don't know. And they're kind of selling the serendipity effect that you're not looking for a girlfriend, you're not looking for a friend, you're not looking for anything. You're just going to go out there, have a good time with people, and then determine, you know, if anything happens. If not, you will do another event and another event. And we are going to plan it for you. And we're going to set the rules for you. And So it's kind of like eliminating that steps that we talked about, initiating to find a community or the right person for you. And they're selling it as our algorithm is going to find the people that you can hang out with. Now, I like the idea. I'm going to go one this Friday.
Nice.
So I will tell you more about it. But I think it was an interesting idea. And then you were talking about the loneliness in general. And of course, these apps are there because of, I guess, people feel more lonely.
Yeah. But I think it's taking out of who we are and what we live in general. Like the problem that I have is the same as dating apps that we refer so many times. It's this idea that you need to condition yourself into following some type of trends or technical solutions in order to engage in the human way. And that's, for me, that's the thing that is tricky, because the reality of your app that you're going an event, do you need to pay for it?
You pay for the event.
Yeah. So that means like there's like this capital idea. I'm not going straight up to capitalism, but this idea, it's not free in itself. Creating human connection and human bounds, it is something that is free. You can talk to any person ever, and then you can have something back in return. But here we created a system that allows you to create that relationship with other humans, and you need to pay for it. And I think that is crazy in that sense. I'm not saying it's bad 100%, all right? And I think a lot of people, and especially in Los Angeles, we talked about it so many times, it is definitely helpful. But then it still codify our way to connect with other people. And I don't think that's a good thing in itself.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at like dating apps, for example, I think it took me a long time to convince myself that algorithm is not really working for me. Like I thought supposedly the idea, like the amount of information I'm providing on an app should be bringing the people that I would like to talk with or like kind of like me. But it doesn't seem like that. It's just, I don't even know what it is giving to me. Like, well, I don't know what is the defining qualifiers of the people I'm seeing on those apps. So I stopped using them. It just doesn't work. And as from the capitalistic perspective, yeah, you can say that they're trying to keep you on the app, so they don't necessarily want you to find someone.
Yeah. They want to get your money a little bit more and more and more and more. But I think it is interesting because maybe we're so peculiar nowadays into the choices that we want to have as friends, as lovers, as in relationships, and as you were saying, community in general, that we forgot that it might not it entirely all the time, you know? And I think that's what I was referring to, the fact that my community is my friends in general, and it's a small community and it's fine. I don't need to be heard about other people. I can express myself and have something back, reflected back to me. And that's enough. But it feels like the world as it was constructed, built before, it needed to be in specific community. And I think religion, for example, was like that for so many years. And how people are still using traditions, and brightness and shit like that, basically, in order to be like, oh, I'm part of this. I'm part of this. Look, I exist in some way. And I think we need to shatter those skills.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm more feeling like I need something like a community. I don't know why I feel that. Because I don't think I feel lonely that much. Like, I don't think I think about it like I'm lonely. But I also sometimes feel like, I don't know, I think I'm seeking like hanging out with someone and doing something, like physically going somewhere and doing something. And I feel like I'm lacking that. I don't have
a good social interaction.
Certain group of people, like to do that,
But do you think
do I
being
need
part of the
it?
community?
Not necessarily.
I know, but do you think being part of the community is essential for our social interaction as humans?
I don't think so. Mostly, I don't think so. I think we are also, for some reason, have a hard time to accept the idea of other. Like if we are doing certain things in a way that we like to do, and then we want people like-minded, and we want to surround ourselves with those type of people. And then if there are other people who are not like that or who are doing different things, it's just harder to relate to those people or connect with those people. But that's not true. Like if you kind of open to that idea, and I think that makes it a little bit more interesting to have these different people, and then you can still find some kind of satisfaction to connecting with them, instead of just leaning into I want these same group of people as a group.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, there's this part of enrichment in terms of having different type of other people, experiences with other community, different groups of people. Because like, we can talk about that in terms of, in Los Angeles, for example, a lot of people that I met that are coming from another country, right? Usually hang out with their own community of people that come from the same country, you know? Like Russians that I met in LA.
In Los Angeles,
In Los Angeles, they're all living in the same neighborhood. They know everyone almost in the same community. And I think it's the same with the Turkish people. They're still coming back to their roots almost. Like, this community is not just a place where you can find help, but it also feels like it's a place where you can find comfort into.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, okay, but I don't know. I'm in a foreign country. There's different cultures. This mix of culture is so interesting that why should I go back to this traditional way of living that I was living before, that I left behind me in order to try
it was hard to grasp for you to why they're choosing that instead of going out there and like,
Yeah. I mean, I understand in some way because it's easier in terms of how you speak to other people. For sure, same language. In terms of the culture itself, you can relate that. And
they also probably feel some helpful sense of security with those.
There's security and it might be helpful. But at the end of the day, I don't think you enrich yourself with another experience by not trying to tap in the reality of this cosmopolitan, city that Los Angeles is, for example.
Yeah.
And it just gave me this idea that people just go back to their own way of thinking and almost traditions, in order to stay close-minded and stay in their same group area of way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it can get really dangerous too for like really, some people live in a dogmatic way of like, this is my community, this is how we do things. The rules are straightforward in some sense. And they are not even open to change. And not only that, they can blame other people as wrong and like what they're doing. I'm going to religion with this.
Yeah. It's true. That's true. That's true. I think it's a question about religion. I think the biggest community you can find on earth are definitely
religious.
Yeah. Or a religious group that impose themselves onto society that has nothing to do with themselves. Like if you take someone that is being through slavery in Africa, I don't understand how it can relate to Jesus Christ that is organized by the Christian church in the south of France. Like, for me, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But they had like this power, and it was like even military sometimes, to push that idea of this community and trying to make it universal. And I think there's residuals of that standards of how we want to perceive a community, even still today. In our daily lives, even our friend groups, religion, definitely.
I don't know. Those kind of communities scares me a little bit, to be honest. Like if a group of people like not changing at all over time, and not really open to change their ways of living, it's a scary idea to me.
Don't you think
Like it's too protective.
Yeah, but don't you think every system is based on that? Because
I mean, not every system, I would say, but some systems, yeah.
I would say all systems.
But what I'm saying is like there are systems can change. There are some systems doesn't change. Like if you go to a Muslim country,
all right,
the system they built in based on Quran or like the teachings of Quran. Yeah, you have sects and different maybe, but there are still things in each sect that they're not going to change. Like it's going to be the same way that they're looking.
All right.
So that's why
if I'm taking France, for example, you think it is based on religion?
I would say I would say to a degree, yes, but I would say it's more like nationalism is a little bit more. That's also an interesting thing too when you talk about a country specifically. But even that can change a little bit. Like the nationalistic idea, there are some pillars that doesn't change, and that's frustrating to me too, for sure.
That's the same thing for me.
But at least there are laws changes a little bit.
Yeah, but those laws, most of the time, they are based on old Christian rules, from the Pope and kings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, they evolved. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying it's still based on the same thing. So at the end of the day, we're still part of a community in itself that, sure, sometimes it's about religion and sometimes it's about democracy.
Yeah.
In some sense, but it's really based on who owns power at the end of the day. Most of the people don't have a choice because, like, as I was saying, I've never been part of the community, as I said. And even
maybe that's why you don't like communities because there's like a hierarchy and power
But
dynamic.
the reality is like when I'm living in France or when I'm living in the US, you're part of a community too. There's a sense of responsibility to the people that are around you, that are surrounding you, your neighbors. You're voting, you're participating in the democratic, idea. You're paying taxes, and those taxes are there to help other people. A lot of people forget that, but it's still part of a community. So in terms of the direct idea of what is a community, I think there's two different parts. There's the identity of what is a community and your identity through that community. And there's the foundation of our societies generally that are sometimes is theocratic, sometimes is democratic, but still the same idea. It's those rules imposed on a group of people in order to make them live well together.
Yeah.
But for me, the problem is more that identity through community.
Community?
Yeah.
Did we wait at each other to say it at the same time?
Yeah. Jinx.
1, 2, 3. Community.
Welcome to our community, guys. But don't you think like this is the problem in itself? Because in this idea of community, there are rules, but it also implies there is responsibility that you need to have toward that community. So I think the biggest part is like the one that you choose, because the one that you're born in, not in terms of your direct surrounding like your family, but the society and the country that you're living in. You have a responsibility to others, but I don't think you need to have a responsibility through the community that you build or you're trying to find in general. And I think that's where there's a problem with this idea of community, because then this is where you can create stuff like, oh, those people are bad and our community is the best. We're beautiful. We're insane. It's great. Make America great again. Fuck the other countries, And then our system is so good that the others, they don't understand things. And I think this problem that arises from there is competition, and it can actually it's the basis of racism, I would say.
Yeah, there's definitely something corruptive in the sense of group. Like I feel like there is this need or want to be a group that maybe we feel beneficial for us. But but also you can easily get corrupted to get into one. But I remember this comedian, George Carlin, you probably know him. Like, he says that, like, when I meet with people individually, they're beautiful. Like, I would love to learn more about that person. But when they get together and then want to be group, then this shit starts, like getting weird, because we start seeing people as others, and we really do things for the community, for our group. And I think I agree on that. Like, I don't think we need to be in a community. I see where you're coming from, but I don't know. I think the friend group that you mentioned before, they are not physically here.
I know.
So that can make things a little bit, like, I think it would be great if you would be here. I have a really close friend in Istanbul. I would love her to be here. But yeah,
don't you think it's interesting? I like this idea. Don't you think it's also this close proximity, the physical almost, proximity to that is important too?
I think so. But for you, not that much.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm asking myself too at the same time.
Yeah. I think maybe sometimes, like, doesn't have to be all the time, but I think it's somewhat relevant. I don't know why. It has a different quality to it. Like, when you come here, and when we went to the IKEA, for example, I don't know why I had so much fun that day.
Because I love IKEA.
It was like fun.
Please sponsor us. Day. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think maybe there's like a memory aspect to it, like a visual memory of the events that you kind of spent, do something with someone that you're close with. Like, we're having conversations on the phone, like we talk about things, we do the podcast. But those are different memories. Like, those still stays. But when we go to, I don't know, Universal Studios, or when we go to, I don't know, Doc Whaler and do barbecue or something, I don't know. It's different. Yeah.
Don't you think that we can relate that to family?
Yeah.
Or do you think family is different because there is a complexity behind it in terms of the relationship that are biased already?
I mean, I feel like the friendship community that you were referring to was more like a family to me, like Fast and Furious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's the family together, you choose.
The family you choose, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we were saying that in the music industry when you had a band, A band is basically a family that you're choosing. And it comes with all the problems. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not skeptical about all those ideas, but I think it goes to this idea of our podcast in general and being yourself. And I don't, to be honest,
I'm also going to just say one more thing.
Yeah.
Family can be a community too. I feel like you can put family under the umbrella term of community, I assume. No?
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
not.
I think a lot of people are doing it. But what I'm saying, I think it definitely depends, on the relationship that you have with your family. Personally, I have a small family, and they're a bunch of cunt because there's only women left. No, I'm kidding. All right. I love my mom and my dog especially. I'll be good if I was living in a pack of wolves.
But some families don't even see each other. They don't want to see each other.
No, that's true. That's true. That's what I'm saying. So I think there's like a moral obligation when you're part of the family in terms of your responsibility inside this community in itself. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know. But for me, as I was saying, I think it's a question about your authentic self at the end of the day. I think if you're comfortable with who you are and what you want to live and your experience and your life in general, I don't think you absolutely need to live through a community. I don't think you need that on the personal level. If it's just to make you feel comfortable and things like that, okay, sure. But if it's to create almost an imposter syndrome, like, oh, you need to be part of that in order to be cool, in order to be seen, or in order to show yourself to other people, then I think you're missing the point of what is a community. A community is a shared experience with other people, but it's the experience that is interesting, not the result of that experience directly, or the face of that experience, or the image of that experience that you're going through. And for me, that's the fine line where, do you really need it or not? Depends. It can corrupt you.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm thinking, after talking all of this, maybe I developed this fantasy of having a group of people that I connect with growing up too. Like, I don't really think necessarily I need that, but the idea of it is something appealing. And that could be friends, but like, I don't know. I can even give you a number that's like 20, 25 people that I can see consistently in some sense, and that I'm really connected with,
Yeah.
And I don't know, have you heard this? I think anthropologist, his name is like something Dunbar, and he finds this number, Dunbar's number, kind of makes a research, anthropological research on tribes, communities, towns, villages, and comes up with this number that you can have healthy relationships with. And that number is like, I think, around 150, and probably basing on a town, that, when you live on a town, like, you can have some kind of healthy, valuable relationship with those people. But when you get into a big city, I feel like that number's lowers down a little bit to maybe like 20, 25, which is, I think, still a lot. To be honest. Like, generally probably like 5, 10. But I don't know. I think there's definitely this part of me that wants it because it's just an idea that is appealing and interesting, that maybe I fantasize to have those moments with those people, as you said, like experience things with the group of people. That's kind of like, oh, this is the gang, like, this is the crew.
It's the gang. Yeah.
It's One Piece. It's One Piece.
The posse, Yeah. But then there are rules after that. Who's
but do
I
need it? I don't. But there shouldn't be that much rules,
I know,
just
but then there's a leader. There's someone that is gonna try to
leaders.
create impulse to others.
No, this is the horizontal structure.
Horizontal structure. Right? No pyramidal line.
It's anarchist.
Nice
friendship.
I love that. Should be the same with society, I guess.
Good luck with that. But yeah, I don't know if there is also a side of wanting this. I don't know if there's like a motivating factor for me to have those people around me too. I don't know if I feel more energized. I don't know if I feel more motivated to do things. I don't know. Maybe it's creating a different psyche for me to have those people around me. But I do value it. Yeah.
I can feel that. That is something for me that is interesting. Is like, whenever I'm coming to LA and I'm seeing you guys and my friends in LA, that's most of the time I don't talk through the year, because we have different lives and we are living in different places and we're going through different experiences. But I can see that every time that I'm coming back in LA.
It's like you never left.
I mean, I never left, but also I can see the difference on people's eyes, that I'm hanging out with, for sure.
Yeah.
You, a lot of other friends too, when we're hanging out, we're like, shit, that would be so great if you were here, stuff like that, Like, it just enhanced the experience at that point. But yeah, I get it. What do you guys think? Or do you want to be part of our community? Answer the question,
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right. Be part of that community.
We want to have a community. Yeah, let's have a community. Let's have a community. Come over here.
Exactly.
Click that button.
Click that button. And I think that's also what we're doing right now. Like, we talked about it in our previous episode about creating stuff for your own self and for others. But I think this idea of the podcast too arise from this idea of intellectualizing stuff. and life and our experience through life. And I bet there are other people that are going through the same thing too, and that are interested about themselves and their own journey. And last time we did a live session on Twitch, and we had like people asking us questions. And
yeah, that was
definitely
fun.
It was fun, and it was definitely creating this sense of community, because like they were asking questions and then we were responding, and then it was going into deeper levels and personal stories. And this is really interesting, and I enjoyed that, and I think they enjoyed it too. But yeah, it's the same as usual. Yes and no. Thank you guys for following us and our podcast at Yes and No Podcast everywhere on internet, on social media, on Spotify, on YouTube, everywhere.
We also have social media channels on Instagram and TikTok. You guys can follow us there too.
Oh, yes, please follow us. I mean, I was mentioning it, but yeah, you're right. Like, let's be more
We're sharing clips
precise. I was your host, Matt, and I was with my old girlfriend, Arda. As usual, thank you for listening and following us.
Thank you guys.
In the next episode.
See you next episode.
Bye.